All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is Planning Commission, and today is Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. It is 7 o'clock p.m. I did not ask anyone to lead us in the pledge, but I will ask you now, Mr. Soriano, would you like to do so? Of course. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Clerk, are there any, before I do that, I guess we have to take the roll, right? Forgot about that. That's kind of important. Would you call the roll, please?
Greenberg.
Here.
Laser. Here. Mako.
Here.
Collier.
Here.
Shapaka.
Here.
Suriano.
Here.
Tamarkin.
Here.
Thank you. Moving on. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was October 22nd, 2025?
So moved, Greenberg.
Second, Suriano.
Thank you. So I have a motion by Mr. Greenberg, second by Mr. Soriano. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Greenberg.
Yes.
Suriano.
Yes.
Laser.
Yes.
Mako.
Yes.
Collier.
Yes.
Shapaka.
Abstain.
Tamarkin.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, we will swear in applicants and speakers for this evening's agenda. Mr. City Attorney, would you please do the honors?
Certainly. We are now at the public hearing portion of the meeting. The public hearing will operate as follows. Administrative staff will make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant or their representative may then make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant has 10 minutes to present, and additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Public comment will then be open for 3 minutes allowed per speaker. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Speakers must complete a speaker slip and come to the podium and state their name and address. The applicant will then be given 10 minutes to comment. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. If there is more than one application pending for a particular address, the presentation on each application may be consolidated and presented as one. At this time, will persons wishing to present testimony this evening please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we have 3 variances to consider on our agenda this evening. The first one is V-0029-2025, to consider a variance application to vary section 1103.07, large lot residential R1 of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 167 Scottsbury Court, parcel ID 025-006071, current zoning R1, large lot residential, William Sweeney applicant. And does the administration have a presentation for us?
The first variance application is for a property located at 167 Scottsbury Court. It's in a neighborhood that is zoned R1, which is large lot residential. The site is a corner lot, so it has frontage on Scottsbury Court to the north and Highbury Crescent to the west. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow a structure that's partially a shed and partially a greenhouse within a rear yard setback, and also past the front corner of the house in what's technically considered the front yard. The structure is 240 square feet, and it measures 10 feet 10 inches to the peak of the roof, and it will be painted a dark green evergreen color. The shed also encroaches 4 feet into the required 10-foot rear yard setback, which is for accessory structures on properties zoned R1, and it encroaches along the southern portion of the site. As mentioned, the site is a corner lot. This means that it has 2 front property lines and 2 rear property lines, The two front ones are the ones along the two right-of-ways, and then the remaining two property lines are considered rear property lines. This means that the entire area past the front of the house towards the right-of-way is considered a front yard, which essentially means that no accessory structures can be placed there. And in this case, the shed extends past the southwest corner of the home and is partially in the front yard. The shed is located in what is traditionally considered a rear yard for properties that are not corner lots, but in this case, a variance is required. Here is an aerial view of the site. The blue box indicates everything that is considered a front yard on this property. So as mentioned, it's anything that's past the front or side of the house towards the right-of-way, and within this area, there cannot be any accessory structures. Here is a site plan that was submitted by the applicant. The location of the shed is shown in green, and then the blue line is the 10-foot rear yard setback, so you can see it encroaches into that. And then just above that, in purple, is the 5-foot easement, which it does not encroach into. And then the yellow line represents the existing fence on the property. The majority of the fence looks to be around 3 to 4 feet tall, except for the portion at the very top of the site plan that is a bit taller at 5 to 6 feet tall. And that's between this property and then the adjacent neighbors to the south. Here are some photos that were submitted by the applicant. The image on the left is the view of their backyard from Highbury Crescent. So you can see the short fence there and then some of the landscaping in front of the fence. The yellow box indicates the approximate location of the shed. Then the image on the right is a view from the backyard of where the shed would be placed. So you can see in the back there, the fence is slightly taller. Here are some elevations of the structure. The one in the top left corner is the south elevation, and this is what will be visible from the neighboring property. And then on the bottom left is the west elevation that would be visible from Highbury Crescent. And the other two elevations would primarily just be visible from the rear yard. There are two variances included with this application. They are both for Chapter 1103.07E. The first one states that accessory structures must be at least 10 feet from the rear property line. And in this case, the shed is only 6 feet from the southern rear property line. The next one states that accessory structures must be located to the rear of the primary structure. And as shown in the previous slides, the shed is technically located past the front corner of the house in the front yard. This is the standard variance criteria that must be met in order for both variances to be approved. Finally, staff has no objection to the variance request. The shed would be visible from the right-of-way in the adjacent property. It would only be partially be screened by the existing fence and landscaping. The applicant states that the shed design would complement the existing home, and in the variance application, the applicant provided many limitations affecting where the shed can be placed. This includes an existing mature tree in the rear yard, the existing fence gate that could be blocked if the shed is shifted forwards, the sunlight necessary for the greenhouse, and then the standard restrictions that come with corner lots. As shown in the previous slides, there is a 5 to 6 foot tall fence between the shed and the neighbor, and then a 3 to 4 foot fence between the shed and the right-of-way, as well as some existing landscaping. Using Street View, staff did locate 2 other properties on Scottsbury Court with sheds that are visible from the right-of-way. However, in those situations, they were not corner lots. They were located in rear yards, but there were no existing fences or landscaping to screen them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney, would you like to provide a comment?
Yes,
Okay. Please state your name, address, and relationship to the project.
yeah, my name is William Sweeney. The address is 167 Scottsbury Court in Gahanna, and I'm the owner of the property and the applicant.
Okay.
The only comment that I wish to add to this is I went looking, I understand the requirements to be behind the house. The reason I asked for the variance is the way that Highbury Crescent curves away from my backyard. It extends the backyard off to the west. My fence follows that logic going off that way, and but it adds more space that I'd like to try and take advantage of. And I went looking for other properties in Gahanna using Google Maps, trying to find an identical or somewhat similar. I could not find another property that has a similar angle away from the side street on a corner lot. So it kind of makes my yard somewhat unique, and I think, it helps with the variance application. The other things that I looked at when I applied was on the Highbury Crescent side, that I was staying behind the sight line of my neighbor's house so that it would not be visible as he exited his garage or the front of his house when they were going out. And I'm available to answer any questions you might have on the application.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to make a comment on this application? Thank you. Please step forward, state your name, address, and relationship to the project.
Hi, I'm William Shore. I live at 260 Highbury Crescent. That's the house just south of Bill. Everything he's done so far has looked fantastic on his home and improved my property value, if anything. I've looked at his drawings and discussed it with him, and I don't have any objection. I wouldn't be able to see that from any usable part of my backyard anyways, because that's on my garage side. But I'm sure it'll look great, too.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will now close public comment and open it up to questions from the commission. And Mr. Sweeney, if you want to step back up, please. And I will start on my left with Mr. Shapaka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So does this have a foundation? Is it sitting on an existing concrete pad?
It'll be a crushed limestone pad, and it will have arrow anchors sunk into it to anchor the building to the crushed limestone.
And your color scheme is going to be complementary to the house?
Yeah, I didn't want to match the house exactly, but it's, and trying to combine the shed with a greenhouse. I found a builder that would have green metal roof over the shed and then switch to a polycarbonate over the greenhouse section to provide the light. And then the darker color for the wood around the sides is to kind of tone it down so that it doesn't stick out around the foliage. Should actually blend in with those bushes that you see on the side of the fence.
I have a kind of an administrative question for you. How did you find out that you needed to get the variance because you went to get a building application for the shed?
Yes. When I started this process back in August and ran into some issues just trying to get information on what I was up against, and I laid down I used to have, in one of the overhead photos that I saw, you could see that I had raised gardens in this same spot. Yeah, in the blue area, you can see the U-shaped raised garden that I used to have in this spot. So I used what I thought was just good sense that I could put the shed in the same spot. So I started preparing it as I was doing my application for the permit. And then once I submitted it, I found out about the variance that would be required.
The setback requirement. Oh, good. Well, thank you for doing the proper administration on that and not coming in after the fact. Other questions?
Mr. Mako?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Shapeka already asked one question that I had about just the whole process about, where along in the process you were when this came up. Could you just, again, just reiterate the hardships that you're encountering with, with this project and, why you're here tonight? Why can't you, I guess I just kind of throw it back, why can't you put something, make something that's compliant?
Well, when I started with the planning back in August, I submitted a picture, of an overhead picture of where I thought about putting this in the exact spot where I have now. And just, I sent a general email to, I think it was building@gahanna.gov. And I said, what am I up against here? What kind of permits do I need? What am I looking at so I could get some guidance? I never got any responses from that. So I kind of went on my own and did my own research, although I'm admittedly a novice at doing this, and I didn't come up with the proper information. So I didn't learn about the actual, codes that fell into this, for a shed. And actually, one of the things that I found when I was looking online, that if it was 200 feet or less, that there may not be a permit necessary. I was at 240. I thought, okay, how hard could this be? I'm only 40 feet over, not knowing what I was going to run into. So it's extended the process substantially for me.
Okay, so let me just kind of dive in here a little bit deeper. So, the placement on your property, it obviously doesn't fit. Again, I just kind of want to just understand more, why can't you make it fit? What are the hardships?
When I was going through the planning process, I had approached a couple of builders looking to build the right thing that I wanted. The original photo that I submitted had an L-shaped building. I was going to have a shed with an L-shaped greenhouse up against it, so I could go from one to the other to work. And I kind of abandoned that idea because it just looked too big for my yard. And I contracted with a builder up in Sugar Lake, Ohio, I think it is, that could actually build exactly what I wanted. But then when I ran into, so I had that already contracted and a deposit down when I found out what the variance was. If I had gotten maybe some responses to that August email and phone call that I made, I may have cut this down substantially, knowing that I was going to have it behind my house.
So let me again kind of dive in here a little bit. Why can't it be 10 foot back from the property line in compliance with the code? I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, on the diagram up here, you can see the circles up there. Those are mature trees. The one on my side of the property line there is a good-sized tree that has a kind of a root zone coming out of it on all sides. If I move the shed to the left of that blue line up there, the two double doors on that side of the shed for access are going to be within about 3 feet of that tree, and that's the length of the ramp coming off those double doors. And then I also thought about bringing it farther in to avoid that. That purple box up there up against the back of my house is a room addition that's going to go on in the spring. So I would have about 6 feet between that room addition and the shed, and it would basically choke off my yard. I would have no space. I would lose all the space to the west of the shed and the fence, and it would really, kind of crimp the space between the room addition, the house, and the shed. So I would give up almost a third of my yard to put the shed where it would need to be within code.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Soriano?
Yes, I just have a few questions, points of clarification on this diagram that we're looking at, the one from the application. There is a blue dotted line that's running north-south with a small dimension of 39 feet, and then obviously that gets wider as the street fans out to the west, I'm guessing. What does that blue line represent, that dashed blue line?
The dashed blue line coming off the west end of my house is the line I would need to be behind to be within code.
Okay. So the solid blue line is so the dashed black line to, I guess it would be the north, if north is up in this case, is the easement setback. So we're within the easement. Then the solid blue line is actually the setback that is needed per code, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And then
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and then the dashed blue line is, what I'm trying to figure out is why that dashed blue line is using the house rather than the property line or the curb.
According to the code, as it's explained to me, the code doesn't allow an accessory building to be built past that
Edge of the
southwest
house.
corner of the house.
Got it. Okay. And I do understand in these kind of acute angle lots, so you've got two things working, it seems like working against you in this case, and that is the shape of the lot fanning out, and then an acute angle to the north and west, or I'm sorry, the south and east in this case. And that tree is posing an issue. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Laser?
I think all my questions were answered, so I have no further questions.
All right, moving on. Mr. Greenberg, do you have any questions?
I do, although most of them got answered.
Wonderful.
Question about the greenhouse and the polycarbonate. Is that the roofing material?
Yes, it's a two-ply polycarbonate.
So it lets the sunlight through?
Yes.
That's how that works? Okay, all right, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Tamarkin?
One quick question, actually, for the administration. I should know this, but I don't. What's the code say about the square footage of accessory building structures?
I don't believe we have a maximum size, but I know if it's below 200 square feet, it would just be a zoning permit required, but above 200 square feet is when a building permit is required and the building code regulations apply.
With no restrictions on if it fits within the yard you build anything?
Correct, as long as lot coverage and height requirements are met.
Good. No further questions for me.
I just have a few questions. My first one is for the administration. Is there a reason, like, was that email that Mr. Sweeney is referencing, was it not received? Did it go into spam? I'm just kind of curious what happened with that.
I believe it was received, but those emails are monitored by the building team and not the planning and zoning team.
Okay.
So they would have, if the email and phone call were responded to, then they would have been able to provide clarification on the building permit process, but not so much clarification on zoning requirements. Those would then be filtered to us. Any questions related to zoning or planning?
Okay, thank you. And then just one additional question for the applicant. As far as the storage portion goes, what are you planning on storing there?
Mainly garden tools, maybe a snow blower, nothing larger than that.
Okay. Is the majority going to be used for the greenhouse? Or it looks like it's maybe about half?
It's about a 12 by 12 storage area, so it will, like when my grill's not being used, I'll push that back there. So I saved enough room for my garden tools, lawnmower, things of that nature, and then support for the greenhouse, because I hope to be able to use that all year round.
And is this structure going to be permanently affixed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I don't think I have any further questions either. Does anyone on the commission have any additional questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve V-0029-2025?
Yes, Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve variance 0029-2025 to consider the variance application to vary section 1103.07, large lot residential.
Is there a second?
Second, Shapaka.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Mr. Greenberg, seconded by Mr. Shapaka. Is there any discussion on the motion? Again, I'll start with Mr. Shapaka on my left.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be voting in favor of this. The question that Mr. Soriano brought up, so the line of sight of the building is kind of detrimental to, and unfortunate for the property owner, because it's angled off of the Highbury, but the perceived line is actually the fence. So if you're looking at the property and the setback from Highbury, you're going to view that as actually the front or the boundary of the house. So the building's beyond that. So I think it's more than acceptable. In encroaching into the 10-foot side, the neighbors are not complaining about it. You do have a fence. It's bigger than 3 feet away from the fence. That's always a pet peeve of mine. So animals and things don't clutter there. So overall, I think it's a good use of our process of bringing it before us and going through the variance application. That's why we're here. So hopefully it'll fall in your favor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mako?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No additional comments.
Mr. Soriano?
I'll be in support of this variance for some of the reasons that I highlighted before. I think the applicant's done a good job of kind of explaining the hardships with regard to the shape of the lot, the fact that it is a corner lot with two fronts essentially, which pose some additional issues, and the tree in the backyard. So I'm in favor of the variance.
Ms. Laser?
No additional comments.
Mr. Greenberg?
No additional comments.
Mr. Tamarkin?
No comments.
Okay, just one comment from me. I will also be in approval of this variance. I do appreciate the due diligence that you did. Like Mr. Shapaka said, you obviously put a lot of research into this to try to figure out what was compliant and what was not. We always appreciate that here, so thank you for that. We've also approved other variances with similarly shaped yards, corner lots. Obviously, you have this tree there as well that creates additional hardships. So I will also be in favor. Any additional comments? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Greenberg.
Yes.
Chapaca.
Yes.
Mako.
Yes.
Pollyea.
Yes.
Suriano.
Yes.
Tamarkin.
Yes.
Laser.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Consideration.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next item on the agenda to consider. This is V-0030-2025, to consider a variance application to vary section 1103.08, medium lot residential R2 of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 1392 Hanbury Court, parcel ID 025-007628, current zoning R2, medium lot residential. Nicole Coverstone, applicants. And I will now open it up to the administration for a presentation.
The second application is a variance at 1392 Hanbury Court. The property is located underneath the Blue Star, and it is along a cul-de-sac. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow a pergola to the side of a house instead of to the rear. The zoning code states that all accessory structures must be to the rear of the primary structure. They cannot be to the side or to the front. In this case, all the setback requirements are met, so there's just one variance request. The proposed pergola is 190 square feet and approximately 8 feet 4 inches tall at the highest point, and it would be located entirely over an existing patio. The applicant states that one of the challenges in finding a location for the pergola is that their rear yard is sloped, which limits accessory structure placement, and there's also a 10-foot drainage easement along the rear property line. Here is a site plan. You can see the location of the pergola is highlighted in yellow. The red line represents the 5-foot setback that's required for both the side and the rear property lines. The purple line represents the existing fence on the property, which is 5 feet tall. And the blue line to the north is the 10-foot drainage easement. Here's an aerial view of the site. The red box is the approximate location of the pergola. This aerial image is from before the patio was constructed. Then one other thing to note is the yellow circle highlights a very large mature tree that's in the front yard that when looking at street view largely screens the view of the pergola. Here are some images showing what the pergola would look like when constructed. The one on the bottom left-hand side, you can see that the maximum height is 8 feet 4 inches. Then the image on the bottom right shows that it does slope downward slightly. There's one variance included with this application. It's for Chapter 1103.08, which is the medium lot residential chapter, which states that accessory structures must be located to the rear of the principal structure. And in this case, the pergola is located to the side instead of the rear. Here is the standard variance criteria. And finally, staff has no objection to the variance request as submitted. All of the setbacks are met, and as mentioned, there is a 5-foot tall privacy fence that would partially screen the pergola along with the existing mature tree in the front yard. In the application, the applicant states that there are some physical limitations that affect where a pergola could be placed, including the slope of the rear yard, the 10-foot drainage easement, and the applicant states that they also have a smaller backyard. Thank you.
We will now open public comment. Would the applicant care to comment? Okay. Do you want to step up, state your name and address, and your relationship to the project, please?
Sure, it's Nicole Coverstone, 1392 Hanbury Court, Gahanna, Ohio, and I'm the homeowner, one of the homeowners.
Thank you.
I guess the only thing I would comment on is just it's a cul-de-sac, so our front yard, our curb line is a lot of our property, so the backyard is kind of narrow, sloped, and then has the easement, so we're trying to find a space that we could have some sort of privacy and seating outside was their goal, and it might be hard to tell by that, but the it goes like everything that's where you see the pavers, it's just all downhill from there. There's not any flat space. And it's not, a straight road where if it's on the side, it's curved back, so it feels a little bit more behind the property than a side yard. So I didn't realize that it was against or I needed a variance, but I realized it now, so that's all I have, sorry.
Okay. Does anyone else from the public wish to comment tonight? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and close public comment and open it up to questions from the commission. I'll start again on my left with Mr. Chapaka.
No questions.
Mr. Mako.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One quick question. So, just so I understand, this is, nothing's been built yet? We're still in the
No,
planning
it's
phase?
not built.
Okay.
Yeah, no, nothing. I was applying for the zoning, the thing you need when it's under 200, because we bought, that's what
Zoning
we're
permit,
getting.
yep.
I was applying for that when I learned this part of it. But yeah, we've not started anything.
Okay. Another quick question. So there's, where the proposed pergola is going to be located at there, it's open space right now. There's no pavers or patio or anything. It's just open space.
No, it's a patio.
It's a patio?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. Mr. Soriano?
No questions for me, thank you.
Ms. Laser?
No questions.
Mr. Greenberg?
Yes, just, it's going to be stained or any particular color?
It's steel, so I think it's kind of like a dark, it's all weather. It's one that doesn't require maintenance.
Okay.
So
So,
like it's like a dark, kind of similar to black, but more like dark charcoal, I guess.
okay. No further questions?
Mr. Tramarkin?
No questions.
Just one for me. How is this pergola going to be affixed to this patio that's already there?
It's why we got it. It has, it can be structured to the cement. There's like, when the leg goes down, it goes out like that and has the little holes where you can attach it to the cement. It's
Is that
actually
cement or are those bricks? I'm sorry, it's.
or pavers.
Oh, they're, okay, it's hard for me to see. Okay, so it would just affix right into that, into the
Yeah.
pavers?
Yeah.
Okay. Are those level? Yeah,
I mean, from our drainage, it's slightly slanted so that the water goes down.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's,
But I mean, like, what I'm saying is, so the pergola, for example, if there's some kind of a windstorm or something like that, would it be secure enough to?
it would, we bought one that withstands, I forget what the mile per hour wind, but we bought it intentionally for that purpose. It was like 100 mile per hour gust or something. That's why we got the one that we did.
Okay. And the pavers are secure enough that they'll hold?
Oh, yeah, it's not, it's one that won't blow around.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Is there anyone else on the commission that has any additional questions? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve V-0031-2025?
Madam Chair, I make a motion for approval of V-0030-2025 for pergola at 1392 Hansberry Court.
Is there a second?
Second, Greenberg.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tramarkin, seconded by Mr. Greenberg. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll start again with you, Mr. Chapaka.
No comments or questions.
Mr. Mako?
No additional questions.
Mr. Soriano?
None for me.
Ms. Laser?
No questions.
Mr. Greenberg? Mr. Tramarkin?
All good?
I don't have any questions either. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Tamarkin,
Yes.
Greenberg,
Yes.
Laser,
Yes.
Mako,
Yes.
Pollyea,
Yes.
Chapaka,
Yes.
Soriano.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the last variance of the night. This is V-0031-2025, to consider a variance application to vary section 1103.09E, development standards, small lot residential R3 of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 535 Humboldt Court, parcel ID 025-009398, Current zoning R3, small lot residential. Rand Golvas, I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly, applicants. And I'll open it up now to the administration for a presentation.
The final variance application is at 535 Humboldt Court. Here on the site plan, or on the map, you can see that to the south of the property, there's a large parcel that's zoned conservation. That is actually a city-owned parcel that is undeveloped and heavily wooded, and that's just adjacent to the south of the site. And then the site itself is at the end of a cul-de-sac. Here's an aerial view for some more information. So once again, you can see the heavily wooded property to the south there. And then there is some existing trees on the property line and on the subject property as well. So the applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow a 1,192 square foot addition within a rear yard setback. For all properties zoned R3, there is a 25-foot rear yard setback for principal structures, which does apply to additions. In this case, the addition is 18 feet 1 inches from the south property line, so it encroaches about 7 feet. All of the other setback requirements are met. There is also an easement along the west and south property lines. The applicant states that the materials for the addition will match the existing house. Here's a site plan. The blue indicates the location of the addition. You can see that the majority of it is to the rear of the house with a little bit coming off of the west side. The red line indicates the 5-foot side yard setbacks for principal structures and then the 25-foot rear yard setback. And then the green line is the easement that's on the site. So you can see that the easement extends farther east from the west property line than the setback does. So it does make it slightly more challenging to meet setback requirements due to that. And then also just because of how the house is oriented on the site, the farther east you move, the smaller the backyard gets. So the applicant stated in their application that this is the location for the addition that makes the most sense. Here are some elevations of the addition. Once again, the materials will match the existing house. The north elevation in the upper right-hand corner, that's the portion that would potentially be visible from along the right-of-way. However, looking at this street view image, you can see that because the house is on a cul-de-sac and because the addition is set back pretty far from the front of the home, only a small portion would be visible from the right-of-way, and there's some existing trees there that would also help screen it. There's one variance included with this application. It's for Chapter 1103.09E, which is for small lot residential, and it states that the principal structure must be at least 25 feet from the rear property line, and in this case, the addition is 18 feet 1 inch from the rear property line. Once again, here's the standard variance criteria. And finally, staff recommends approval of the variance request as submitted. There are limited locations for an addition on the site due to the easement and the orientation of the house. The applicant states that the proposed location was chosen and accounts for the location of the easement, the roof tie-in, the existing windows on the house, and an electrical meter that's located in the rear yard. The majority of the addition would not be visible from the right-of-way. And as mentioned, the house is at the end of a cul-de-sac and has a heavily wooded and undeveloped city-owned parcel just adjacent to the south that provides some additional screening. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant care to speak? Please state your name, address, and relationship to the project.
Yeah, my name is Steve Benninger. I am the homeowner at 535 Humboldt Court. Excuse me. Thank you for considering our application. I just want to mention that the impetus for this whole thing is my lovely bride of 42 years was born with a birth defect that left her with only one leg. And so she's worn a prosthesis for nearly 60 years. We've lived in Gahanna for 40 years. We moved into this home in 2003 when our children were smaller and we needed a little more space. And we knew that there would come a point where her mobility issues would become a challenge because our bedroom and other living space is upstairs. And so now we're in our mid-60s and we are there. And it is extremely difficult for my wife to navigate those stairs up to the bedroom every night. So we love our home, we love our neighborhood, we love the fact that we have the nature preserve right behind us. we realized that this addition would be mostly invisible from the court because it's right behind our house. It's not encroaching on any neighbor's property because there are no neighbors behind us. It's just woods and squirrels and so forth. So this proposed addition would allow us to have a good portion of added living space on our main level and eliminate all the stairs for my wife. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and open it up to questions from the commission. And I'll start again with Mr. Chapaka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have no questions or comments.
Okay, Mr. Mako?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question, I guess this would be for the applicant. On the application submittal, there was, I guess, there was a response to a comment about the electrical meter. I believe it's letter D. Could you kind of talk to that a little bit? Just kind of some clarification here.
Would it be possible to defer to my agent, who's an electrical engineer, who came in just after the swearing in? Because he can probably speak more intelligently about that than I can.
Yeah.
Is that
We can swear
okay?
him in now.
Pardon?
We can swear him in now.
Oh, okay. There he is.
If you want to approach, please. I'll let the city attorney swear you in.
You raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Can you please state your name and address and relationship to the project, please?
Yes, my name is Rand Galvis. I live at 218 Academy Woods Drive here in Gahanna, and I'm the electrical engineer working on the project with the architect, which they've hired. The new addition is going to be built directly over the existing electrical service to the house. So we've already secured an electrical contractor and worked with AEP to coordinate rerouting the electrical service, and we've just been waiting for this approval to get that whole process going. But the new electrical service, the transformer is in the southwest corner of the property, right in that little bit of that triangle. And the AEP is requiring us to put it in conduit, and the conduit route around the east side of the addition and connect to the house right where the bay window sticks out. And so that's one of the problems. We couldn't move the addition over to the east any further than it is because we can't build a building over the top of the electrical conduit, the rerouted electrical conduit. So that explains what's going on with the electrical service there.
Okay, yeah, and that explains it much more clear in my mind. So thank you. And then just one more additional question for the applicant. Just again, so I'm looking at the site plan correctly. The existing shrubs are on the west side. Those are all going to be removed.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Soriano?
Just one question, and that is relative, I'm assuming, it looks like there's a swale, and is that going to be constructed, or is that existing? On the west, it says, there's a blue line that says center line and swale.
Would you like to comment on that, Rand? It's existing.
Okay, so this won't impact that. And I only ask because I had this issue on my house a long time ago, that it was constructed just basically for drainage. So in that case, you wouldn't want to disturb it because it's probably likely channeling water away from the middle of your yard.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Ms. Laser?
I have one question. I apologize if I missed it. Is the siding or the outside of the addition, will it match your current house, or what's the plan?
Yes, it'll match. That's my understanding. It will match.
What is the current siding, like what is the outside of your house right now? The front
Vinyl siding, and then on the front, there's some brick
Okay,
facing there around the garage.
so you'll be able to get the matching siding to go
Yes.
around the addition? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Greenberg?
Stole my question. No further questions.
Mr. Tamarkin?
No further questions.
I also don't have any further questions, and I assume nobody else has any additional questions. If that's the case, do we have a motion to approve V-0031-2025?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve V0031-2025 to consider a variance application to vary section 1103.09E.
Is there a second?
Second, Soriano?
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Laser, seconded by Mr. Soriano. Is there any discussion on the motion? Again, Mr. Chapaka, we'll start with you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Having the rear site being a nature preserve is a big consideration. Having nobody back there, the 25-foot really is, it depends on the use that's in the rear. It's a good site that you have, so I will be in favor.
Mr. Mako?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No additional comments other than I'll be in support of the variance.
Mr. Soriano?
I'll be in support of the variance. It's falling within the easements. It's not disrupting any of the existing kind of landscape, other than some small demo, it looks like, to the west. And the infringing portion of the addition is a small sliver that, were the applicant to be within that setback, creates a really difficult kind of plan situation. So in addition to some of the articulation around the rerouted electrical conduit. So I'll be in support of the variance.
Ms. Laser?
No further questions.
Any comments?
Or comments, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Mr. Greenberg?
Just one for the city, a comment. It said the building has to go through the building permits and everything. That's after us, not before, correct? Or simultaneously?
It's already gone through for building permits already, and they've been approved pending variance.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Tamarkin?
No comments.
Just a couple comments, just following up on Mr. Greenberg's question. So assuming we approve this variance tonight, they can go ahead and start construction? Is that correct?
Well,
May I hear from the administration? Thank you so much.
So if the variance application is approved, we'd have to go in and resolve our outstanding comments, and then it would be up to the building division to issue the permit if everything looks good to them, and then they'd be able to start construction after that.
Okay, thank you. I'm also going to be in support of this variance tonight, mainly because I think this application meets the definition of necessity pretty closely, and also would cause, if we don't approve this variance, I believe this would cause a hardship to the applicant. You mentioned that you'd have to move, you can't use your home, and I think this is really a very appropriate fact pattern that just shows necessity here for the variance criteria. So for that reason, I'll be in support of the application as well. And do we have any additional comments from the commission? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Laser,
Yes.
Soriano,
Yes.
Pollyea,
Yes.
Chapaka,
Yes.
Tamarkin,
Yes.
Greenberg,
Yes.
Mako.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item on our agenda, which is unfinished business. Is there any tonight? Okay. Next, new business. Is there any new business this evening? There is new business. Okay. Would you please, I guess the item is discussion of 2026 Planning Commission meeting schedule, and I believe Mr. Blackford, you have a presentation for us?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Planning Commission. Planning staff, we thought now would be an opportune time to kind of take a step back and look at Planning Commission, since it's about Planning Commission's function. Since we've updated our zoning code, that's been about a year and a half. The zoning code was a reflection of the community's vision that was identified in the land use plan. So I think what we're going to find is some information that really makes some logical sense here, where our meeting frequency and our number of items has kind of decreased, which makes sense. The more updated our vision is, the more in line with our code, there should be less of a need for special exceptions and such. So looking at some of this information up here, oh boy, a lot of this doesn't show up as well as it does on my screen here. But so we took a look a little bit of the last 5 years, so 2021 to 2025. So if we look at the number of canceled meetings, in 2021 we had 3, then it goes to 5, 4, 4, and then this year, our first full year of the new zoning code in place, we've had 8 cancellations, and we might have a 9th as well. Again, this is predictable to some degree because, again, we've kind of streamlined our processes and such. So with the number of meeting cancellations, we might expect that our volume per agenda has increased, but what we actually find is that there has been a slow and steady decline in the number of applications per agenda. 2021, that was still sort of in the height of the COVID era. We were doing virtual meetings for most of that year. We were averaging 5 agenda items per. Now we're under 3 agenda items. So even though we've had 8 or 9 cancellations, we're still significantly fewer applications than in previous years. And then if we take a look at what we've done in 2025, just looking at 2025, we've had about 45 applications, and 70% of those have been variances. That's a lot. 7 of them have been development plans, and that's fairly consistent with going back for the 10 plus years that I've been here with the city. So the number of development applications are about the same, but the percentage of variances has increased significantly over the years. I don't have all the breakdown for variances in the other application types, but just looking at variances, the highest I saw in any previous agendas was about, any years was about 45%. So significant increase in variances. So we're having fewer agenda items. We're having the need for less meetings. But what does the community do besides Gahanna? Oops. Shoot. Sorry, one second here. Let me stop sharing. So we looked at some of our peer communities. We often look at them to see what they're doing. We looked at 10 different communities. Dublin, Worthington. A lot of times we look at Hilliard. We have a lot of similarities with Hilliard. We work a lot with them in the past. Now those 10 communities, 7 of the 10, their meeting times start earlier than 7 o'clock. A couple of them start at 1:30, 6 o'clock is a popular time, 6:30 as well. When we look at those 10 communities, 9 out of those 10 meet once a month. So Gahanna is the outlier in the frequency of meetings and the meeting start times. Staff would be proposing that we reduce our frequency of meeting times and the start times because of that. So looking at that, again, by reducing that, we believe it'll have a number of benefits. I know it's very difficult to plan for life when you meet twice a month. Meeting cancellations, it's hard to plan around that. It's very difficult, not that you want to hear staff sob story, but for those who are involved in planning commission, when it's a 2-week cycle, it's very much a first few weeks because of advertising, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, planning commission, we got to focus on the next planning commission. So the timing for staff is a challenge as well. So we look at this and what would be the impacts to the external customers. Well, again, the vast majority of our applications are variances, and there's a built-in option there. You can meet code, so you don't actually need a variance. So we probably shouldn't be meeting very often just for variances, especially since a high percentage of those are code enforcement related. There's really not an urgency to meet for code enforcement violations. I'll say one thing that's seems unique to Gahanna. A lot of development folks approach us with this a little bit with trepidation, and that is, are we allowed to start other processes before we get our planning commission approval? And folks are frequently surprised that we actually allow them to start other processes. So planning commission typically is at the beginning of a development process. There's also the building permits like we heard tonight, and there's also like with our development applications, their site civil engineering plans. That takes the longest amount of time in that. And in Gahanna, we actually allow folks to start the building permit process and the engineering process without their planning commission approval. That does seem rather unique. A lot of folks are surprised by that, and they're very appreciative of that. So because of those issues, we really don't see much of a downside by reducing the frequency. Again, if things necessitate additional meeting, folks can always request a special meeting or a workshop. So staff, we respectfully request that we move our meeting times to 6 o'clock. And I'll just say anecdotally, I don't recall any applicant ever requesting a late meeting time. I think they would prefer 9 o'clock in the morning if they could. So again, applicants prefer it earlier in the day. It looks like most years, moving and having everything on the second Wednesday, we wouldn't have to adjust our schedule. In 2026, we would, because in November, that's Veterans Day. So every other year, it really looks like if we met on the second Wednesdays of each month, we wouldn't have to adjust for November and December. So again, staff would respectfully request that we consider reducing our frequency and starting earlier. So with that, I'll turn it over to you all.
Thank you. Just a point of order clarification. How, are we voting on this, or are we, what is the goal with this ask?
Do we have a say? We'd have to vote on it. We vote on it in January.
We would not vote on this evening. The meeting schedule for 2026 would be set at the organizational meeting in
So we
January.
would vote on it then?
Yes.
But we're just discussing now whether that would be something we would be open to.
Correct.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Well, then, I'll go ahead and, I guess everyone can take a chance to ask questions, comments, or whatnot. I guess we can start with Ms. Laser this time.
I am new, so I don't want to put in a lot of, but when Creekside happens, and I don't know when that will happen, will pushing everything to once a month, will that be, is this a bad time to do that?
That was my exact question.
No, I don't believe so at all. I actually think that this will help. I think because we meet so frequently, applicants tend to, I think moving it to once a month will actually help applicants accelerate their urgency to get things done. So I actually don't think this will have a negative impact at all. I think our most important applications are those development plans. And we have, 5 to 7 of those a year. So again, I don't see a negative impact from that standpoint. And again, if we wanted to have a special meeting, I think it makes more sense when we have 9 cancellations to have a special meeting, if there was a need for that.
So does the special meeting, would it be on the other Wednesday that we would normally have?
It's up to Planning Commission. We typically have special meetings once or twice a year. It's strictly up to Planning Commission.
Okay.
Sorry, I apologize. I would just add that there are some limitations because some other boards and such are starting to use council chambers and have things advertised. So there are also some constraints on when we meet. I know like the third Wednesdays aren't available any longer because the Parks and Rec Board meets on the third Wednesdays.
Mr. Greenberg.
Do we just get fired? Just kidding. Question, do the rules for the planning commission already give the chair the authority to request, or any planning commission member to request a meeting, or do we have to redo that?
So the rules, from what I've read, only really require us to meet at 7 PM. The rules would need changed for the time, if that changed. The chair has the authority to call a special meeting, so likely what would happen is I would reach out to Ms. Pollier, and then from there, a special meeting would be scheduled. We would obtain everyone's availability and work from there.
If I may, I don't think anyone in these chambers other than myself, and maybe Mr. Soriano remembers, but that was standard practice at that first meeting, that they would revise the rules according specifically for this, because it was, I believe, in 2019 where it was finally abolished, but Planning Commission used to caucus beforehand. I believe they called it a caucus, but that was in violation of many a thing. And Planning Commission, although meetings started at 7, they caucused most frequently at 6:15. So there has been a long-standing practice for decades of the Planning Commission discussion starting earlier than 7 o'clock.
That's why, okay. Mr. Tamarkin?
I like the idea, I think sometimes, we come here, plan our week around or month around it, and we come here to approve a shed and go home. My comment would be, though, on the big stuff, which I don't know how many years I've been on here, 5, 6, 7, 8. The big meetings, the Sheets, the One Church, Creekside, I think it's very awkward when we do the shed. You got 100 people in chamber here and we're debating a shed prior to Sheets or prior to Creekside. So I would like to see those big projects, which we probably see one a year, one every other year, have its own meeting. And whether it's as scheduled, where everything else then gets pushed to the next month, or whether it's a special meeting, the 2 weeks later. But, those big meetings that take 2, 3, 4 hours to go through, it's a weird day if, again, we got a shed or, the 3 things we saw today in advance of that. So again, I guess my opinion or request would be that the big stuff be its own meeting.
I would say
somehow.
that's up to you all, but and I get that, but that would be, again, an outlier within the region. That's not normally how, normal agendas are 10 items and variances and big projects are, but certainly it's up to you all, but that would be, again, a unique thing that Gahanna did.
Mr. Chapaka?
Yeah, so to follow up with what Mr. Tamarkin was saying about the special, we're handed the agenda. We don't have privy to what's going to be on it, what's going to be big and what's going to be small. Could it be presented in such a way that somebody would have to know if it's going to be a 2 or 3 hour meeting or well-attended? We would call a special for that, basically. It seems like we're pretty flexible. The outline that you're saying, that the chair, I don't know how we would know that. How would we get information prior to make that decision to the meeting? Is it something 2 weeks out? We would get a list of it, say, hey, let's break this up. We only want this, or we want a special, hold a special?
I don't think that's feasible
Yeah.
to
so-
come up with lists beforehand and in that.
So somebody has to come up with that list if it's a special. So that we have to know prior to call it. Because how would we call the special? You would have to tell us now, next month we have this.
I'm not sure what you're asking, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so to get a special in, when we get our agenda, it's going to have 10 items on it, and one of them is very, very big. And we know it's going to take a lot of time, but we want that to be a special. How could we navigate around that prior to?
Typically, that would happen, you would continue it, and you would have a second meeting after the first one. That's how typically that happens. So you have the first meeting, and then you continue it to continue the discussion to a later date.
So it would be posted on the agenda, and at the agenda, we would say, hey, this is a big item. We're going to hold it over to have a special meeting. So in essence, they're going to wait 2 months or
Well,
1
you
month.
could call a special meeting, but again, that's how the business operates
You
everywhere.
guys understand what I'm saying about how to get the special as a special?
Are you basically saying then that, let's say there's, like you said, there's an agenda, 10 items, one bigger item that you would want to have its own special meeting, would you then want to have that special meeting like the following week?
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
mean,
saying. We would have to have, I was hoping we could do it prior to getting an agenda, so we know we have these 9, and we can't, but I don't see how we cannot. We have to have it on the agenda, and then at that meeting, we would say the special for that item.
If
we
you
would have
needed
to
the
probably-
additional time, absolutely, you could call a special meeting whenever you want.
but I feel like we can do that now too. I've only been on planning commission for almost 2 years, I guess, but there's times where, if meetings are going late or, it seems like there's just too many agenda items and it's 10 o'clock at night, I mean, we could always, at that point, we could always just decide, we're not going to hear this big item that might be next on the agenda. We'll just, continue that to a later date or something like that.
So as you're saying that, so I would, having to come before and make presentations like this, sometimes it's very labor intensive. I would want to know if it's going to be tabled up front, because I would just send a representative knowing it's going to get tabled. So some kind of communication would have to come that they know as a courtesy to people that's going to come and say, hey, you're too big, we're going to table you to later.
You certainly see it coming. We all know Creekside's coming
Right.
at some point. It's not a secret.
Well,
Right.
call a special meeting for that. There's
Yeah.
one item.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's less than once a year.
I would say, yeah, it's less than once a year. So if we can't accommodate that, then we got some challenges. So we should be able to accommodate a special meeting every other year if the need's there.
In advance.
In advance.
Instead of having everybody,
Comment to that.
the chamber full, and then we say we
I
table
will
it.
say again, yes, we can do that for Creekside and other things, but again, that is standard practice across the country, that you meet and then you continue and you meet again. That is across the United States.
Do you have a follow-up to that, Mr.
Yeah, when I've been on this commission for 4.5 years, it's very rare that there's ever an agenda that we haven't gone through. There was one time with a previous clerk, when I was chair, called me and said, I think we have too many things on this agenda to get through it. And then the mayor told me, we'll get through it, and we did. So, and it probably was a 2-hour meeting. There was just a lot of agenda items. And that's like the worst case scenario in the 4 or so years that I've been on here. I think we can get through most of these efficiently.
Absolutely, and the great thing is, that if we need to pivot, staff's gonna wanna pivot as much as planning commission and that. So, I mean, these things can always be changed, and then if we need to. And we should, if we're not meeting up with the demand, we absolutely should change.
Mr. Mako?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I have some comments, and I have a couple questions. So to begin with the comments, Mr. Blackford was directly on point about communities having one planning commission meeting per month. I know in my 20-plus years of of doing this that the communities where I've worked at, one planning commission meeting a month is a standard. So I think going in that direction is a good idea. I just think that's kind of standard practice for planning commissions in other communities. So I'm definitely supportive in moving in that direction. The other thing just to kind of point out is that, and this is actually one of the things I like about how we're structured here in Gahanna, is that because we don't have a Board of Zoning Appeals, we're dealing with these variances, we're dealing with these conditional uses, where normal planning commissions, you don't have that. So, and I know that the one example comes to my mind, I think Upper Arlington is structured that way too, where their planning commission, they do everything, it's a one-stop shop.
Yes, correct, that was our research, only us in Upper Arlington. Yep.
So, so I think that, we're in a kind of unique situation, and I hope that uniqueness stays, because given the brains on this table here, we can handle variances and conditional uses. We can do it. We don't need a separate board. That's my rant for the night.
If I may, Mr. Mako, I appreciate that, because I find it very unique that in Central Ohio that the BZBAs review variances, and I have to say that I think for our applicants, it's much better how Gahanna does it, because it's one meeting, and that's another thing that Gahanna does a little bit differently that's very external customer friendly. We do a lot of that because, we have a lot of the same goals. So that's what's great is that, a lot of these things are reducing over time because we have a lot of the same goals as the development community and our community in general.
And just to kind of add upon that, you know, the city council and the mayor are not burdened by having to appoint, you know, 7 other people, community members that they have to go out and find and put on another board. So, again, I just think having this unique structure is, you know, it's really good. And then speaking to the, you know, the special events and large agendas, again, I'm just speaking from my experience, that is very rare that you have either some type of special meeting or you have something that gets tabled due to the time. The planning commissions, they just get through it. Yeah, it goes late. It interferes with, you know, the home life, but typically they just get through it and deal with it. Probably the only time that I've seen special meetings, again, in my career has been some type of personnel issue comes up that needs to be dealt with right then and there. But again, that's the exception and not the rule. So that's, I'll just be quiet with the rant. So the question, a couple questions. So per our bylaws, is there any minimum number of meetings that we have to have per year?
No, neither city charter nor our rules set a number of meetings that we have to have, just that the schedule will be determined at the organizational meeting.
Okay. And would we, if we go to this system, how would we handle workshops? Same way?
Same way as we do now.
Yeah, I think there's an option there for how we want to handle it, a workshop, but I would think similarly, certainly that could be time certain at the start of a meeting, whatever we like. You know, we don't have a lot of workshops. I would say that if, you know, everyone has brought up some excellent points, and Mr. Spack, you're right that some projects are maybe a little bit, you know, unique with their, and so again, you know, if Creekside or somebody like that wanted to have a workshop that might be a little bit more in-depth, again, that could be on an alternative Wednesday as well, not just necessarily, again, it's going to be up to chair for that. But again, I think special meetings or a workshop on another day if schedules permit is an option there that Gahanna can provide.
Okay, thank you. No further questions or comments.
Oh, I have a lot of comments. So agree with Mr. Blackford and Mr. Mako. One meeting, fairly standard. And I'm kind of coming at this from the point of view of my day job and having been at a lot of municipalities. I will say that Gahanna it is great that Gahanna has kind of one-stop shop, like versus having to go to a planning commission that is reviewing development, and then an architectural review board, and then, you know, a zoning board. I mean, just the fact that we have one kind of body, I think is really good. What I would say is, I have been in situations, I've been on like a lot of contentious projects, not for Gahanna, but in other municipalities that have garnered a lot of attention and have a lot of opinion. And when they're on a month cycle, I think we need to be as clean as possible with regard to like our meetings, and certainly we have that lever to pull if we need a special meeting. But what I would say is, in meetings so I've had both things happen, where we have a small item on an agenda and then there's one big one from someone else at the end. You either try to get through that before the big one, or you're waiting till the end and that big one is going for hours, and then there's no time limit on it, and consequently someone just came and sat for 5 hours, which we've done at a meeting, only to get tabled for the next meeting. So I think we need to be on a month cycle, and I would make this criticism of any, or this critique of any planning board. We need to be judicious about like how we structure the agenda and make amendments like as we go through. If like, hey, we think this one's going to be 4 hours long, like let's switch it up so we can get this shed out of here so that they can go home, or vice versa. Because the worst thing that can happen is on a big project where you've got many different players, I mean, we might have some conditions where people fly in for these meetings. And if they get tabled or continued, that's a big deal, right? So we need to be very conscientious of that and the customer in that case. I would also say that what was I going to add here? I think if we can just be conscientious of that. Oh, the one question was, I know right now for city, I can imagine that a 2-week turnaround is pretty difficult. From someone coming into the city, I'll use a big development example. A lot of times, like a month makes a big difference in terms of like what a project, like how much is developed in a month, or how much needs to be done from one meeting to another. So what I would say is, like, City of Columbus, as an example, if you're meeting with the Downtown Development Commission, you have your meeting, and then you might get a lot of comments from that meeting. Like, and you need, like we might have a lot of comments, but they're on a tight development cycle, right? They need to get in the ground by X date, and they can't afford to wait another month. But after that meeting is over, there's a stipulation that you might have to get it in a week later to allow staff a month, 3 weeks to a month to review it. So the cycle basically gets kicked to 2 months, right? Like there's no way you're going to be able to get in the amount of work or the changes amendments that you need to make in a week, right? To be able to get it back to staff. So I guess I would just, it's not a caution, but like, let's be conscientious of, and maybe have a discussion amongst us. Like, as a planning commissioner, I don't necessarily need to see something 2 weeks in advance to be able to like be informed when I come to this meeting, right? So I think it really comes down to how much from a planning and development side do you all need to be able to review, and knowing that a 2-week cycle is pretty quick, let's just be conscientious of like what we're asking applicants to do in terms of turnaround time. Because 1 week might make if someone has 2 weeks to make changes, that might make a big difference in being able to get on next month's agenda. Whereas if it's a week, they're kicking to the month after because it's really difficult.
So to that point, like, I guess, again, and you bring up some great points that, and there was a time and place where Gahanna, we had area commission, so that extended that process by about a month or so.
Yeah.
Again, we had that here. So we already have probably about the most streamlined process, and why we don't have a lot of things kicked back after it goes to planning commission is because that staff review happens at the front end, not sort of the back end. I know a lot of communities seem to, the way people describe it, like it's kind of a mix. And so you have a lot of incomplete applications that go to hearing. We haven't had any incomplete applications come to hearing because we can't take an incomplete application to hearing. I think we had one and staff said we can't because it's incomplete.
Yeah.
But I will say that our internal review time is 10 days.
Okay.
And there's basically 2 main folks that are on that, and it's our engineer and planning. And by far and away, our absolute top priority is anything that is related to planning commission. So to our own detriment, Maddie, and that bend over backwards to try to make sure that nobody even waits an extra week or 2.
Yeah.
So it's sort of already ingrained. And I think, again, everyone's has that same goal, and that's to get folks, our external customers in front of planning commission as quick as possible with all the information that you all need. So our internal timelines are 10 business days for planning commission applications. And I will say that at times we get to it, within 1 day a lot of times.
Yeah, which seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
that's good.
yes. And if there's ever, I'm sure the development community will let everyone know if we're not keeping up with the pace that they would like us to see.
Sure. And then lastly, this came up this year on a cycle where we have less meetings per year. We should figure out what the stipulation is with regard to missed meetings. If that changes, does it get halved, or does it stay the same? Whatever it looks like. I would imagine some adjustment would have to be made.
That just so that you're aware, that is currently set by our charter, and 2026 is a Charter Review Commission year, so that would be a great opportunity to look at that.
I didn't realize that was charter. I thought we changed that before.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I don't know. Good question.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yeah.
Question.
Mr. Greenberg.
I guess I have a question. So you guys make a, you approve or, you know, the process going forward, send it to Sophia, right? Or putting out the agenda? When, like the variances tonight,
We provide the applications.
and you send them over, right?
Correct, yes.
And is there any way, and when does Sophia typically get them?
About 2 weeks before the meeting.
Oh, long lead time.
I received that Thursday before, so not quite 2 weeks, but if we
13
had a
days.
meeting at the end of this month, I would receive the applications for that tomorrow.
So is there any way that you could forward to the chair just to have a glance at it before it goes final online and,
So
or is it once the process is started, it can't be adjusted?
I start the process as soon as I get them, usually by Friday, because I have to send out contiguous property owner letters as well as the public notice.
More process.
But I do send the draft agenda the Thursday before I publish it to the chair and vice chair for any input. So as long as they
Good.
okay it, then it goes out on Friday.
So I mean, I guess at that time,
That's
if there
what I
was a situation where we foresaw some kind of an issue like people have described, we could address it at that point.
Yep, works.
So, okay. I'll just end with my comments. What?
Well, so if she has a review on the agenda and says, hey, let's move this date, how does the applicant know? When does the applicant know he's going to be on that agenda? After that review, do you call them up and say, yes, you made the agenda?
If we were moving an item that I had already notified the applicant and all of that and put out a public notice, I think this would be a question for Mr. Roth. Would we need to restart that entire process?
I think we would if we are, you know, there's notice that goes out to the contiguous landowners, notice goes out to the applicant. If we're changing it after that, I think the timeline starts over for how much notice we give.
Funny noise.
I think I hit the table.
Well, my hearing aid picked
Oh,
that
I'm
up.
sorry.
Really scratched me.
I think those are things potentially, I don't know how to resolve those types of issues with the notice issues. Like if there is something, I mean, like I said, I've only been chair for a couple months. I've only been on planning commission for a year and a half. I think I can think of one situation that might have made more sense to move to a different meeting. I don't see that would be something necessarily that would, I mean, obviously everybody here has been here a lot longer than me, but I don't know that that's something that would occur that often. But maybe, I mean.
Madam Chair, in my 6 years here going on, almost, I can think of one night we ran really, really late. There's been 2 or 3 times where we didn't finish the business the night that it was on the agenda, and it was usually because the applicant requested time to make changes to it. You know, they come in and they have a 4-story apartment and it's not looking well for them, and they'll come back and say 3-story apartments. And it's at their request it moves somewhere else, and then we don't have all of those notice problems. Well, I think what Mr. Blackford said initially is that we can, you know, put it on the agenda if, you know, during the meeting that night you see a problem, we can schedule it for a special meeting 2 weeks later or something like that, instead of changing it prior to having it on the agenda. I think that would make more sense.
Okay. I mean, hopefully the amount of people that would be inconvenienced by that would be slim, but, I mean, I suppose it's a possibility, but I agree too. I think we have to be judicious of people's time, and if someone is flying here or whatever, coming here in some capacity that might be difficult for them to get here, I think we have to make sure that we can accommodate that. But I think we can, again, I think those situations are gonna be minimal, so I think maybe we could just deal with them as they come, as needed. But what I was gonna say is, I mean, I would personally, as far as the meeting cadence and time, I don't have any issues with it. If that's what's the most convenient for the administration, it doesn't bother me. I mean, the only thing I would just want to make sure is the 6 o'clock time, if that works as far as availability goes. I know people have work schedules and things like that, whether that's going to be a hardship for anyone to be here by 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock.
I volunteer at, and I leave early to come here every other week. So, but and that starts at 6. It's from 6 to 7. But I understand I'm one person. And if it was only once a month, to say I'll miss one of those a month, so if I had a vote, I like the 7 o'clock, but that is only my personal.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, personally, I prefer as late as possible, just for my own benefit, so I can get my work done before I come, and then I don't have to work when I get home. But I do understand, it's more convenient for the administration, and I'm totally fine with that. I can work around it myself.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
If we start at 6, does that mean workshops are at 5?
We already kind of talked about workshops, and we can handle that whatever way we want. In the past, Planning Commission, actually, I think at times they scheduled it specifically, and it was a time certain, and it was after items, is how they used to handle workshops. It was at the end of an agenda, not before.
And since I've been here, they've been before.
Yeah, and again, historically, it's been more at the end and again, workshops, I would say, are something that has caused issues in the past, so we have to be careful with them anyways because of what's said and not. If I may, just real quick, it's been talked about, some of the agendas and trying to plan for some of these items, and that's a very valid point. No one likes to sit around for 5 hours and not be heard, or sit around for your 5-minute item and wait 5 hours. And one of the things I would just add is that what I've seen in Gahanna over the time is that our council's office is our current council's office is very receptive to of working with Department of Planning for just that thing. I know we've talked in the past about this should be pretty quick, move this one up. Certainly sometimes staff has an awareness because of the interwebs with some of the chatter when we know that maybe like the Morse Road apartments, like we had an idea for that one. Sheets we didn't. If you remember the first time Sheets went through, no one showed up. The second time that same Sheets on Morse Road showed up, all hell broke loose. So sometimes we don't know. That is a once every 4 years or so. But we do try to plan for that. And I'd say that there's more, instead of looking for fewer items on the agenda and kicking those to a later time, now the mindset is maybe a little bit more of a smart agenda, so we get some of those easy things out of the way and they're not waiting all the time.
If you don't mind me adding a quick comment to that, I always prioritize residential projects first so that they can get in and out, and they're not waiting for something like a Sheets to be discussed.
And I think just maybe, paying attention to the agenda when you circulate it, and just like if we have any comments about potentially moving things around to accommodate people too, I think would be good. So, yeah, I mean, I personally could not do a workshop at 5 o'clock, but, hopefully, we can schedule those accordingly as well to start at 6 o'clock in some capacity.
Yeah, I don't think 5 o'clock workshop either would be appropriate.
Well, I think it would just be hard for people on the commission to get here. But,
Yeah.
I'm understanding people have different things going on, and this commission will change over time. I hear staff with regard to like start time and moving it up. I guess I would support like splitting the difference if 6:30 was, made it a little bit more feasible. if people end work at 5:30 or whatever, and giving some,
That's
a little
fine.
bit more time to get here. We could probably have more discussion about that if
Yeah, I
if
mean, I
needed.
would be
I don't know
open
if
to
that would be,
or-
if you guys would be open to that, or,
It's up to you all. Not surprised to hear the 6:30. Kind of hoping for 6, but it's up to you all.
Okay.
6:30. Anything's better than 7.
okay.
It's a lot of wasted time for a lot of
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, I can, like, if we're only doing it once a month, I mean, I know I can make it work for 6 o'clock. I think,
6:30 is great, whatever works
yeah, Ms.
for
Leeser
everybody,
said she
right?
could make it work once a month. I think all of us could probably make it work if the meeting cadence is going to be fewer than 2 meetings a month. So,
Whatever works for the all.
yeah, I think that could be a
One
conversation.
more little comment. So we cancel a meeting. I mean, does that look bad on Gahanna that we cancel the scheduled meeting? It seemed like if we had 2 meetings, we don't have anything, and we just cancel it, what's the
I don't think
big
anybody even
deal?
really pays attention.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting punished for it, so if we just keep it, it's 2 days, and if we don't have anything on the second, why not, we just cancel it? But if we have more than one item, let's just say if we could state, if we have 3 items that came into play, we would have that second meeting, not just one. So I don't know if you could perceive what that is, but I don't mind the 2, because as coming before committees or commissions, having that flexibility, that month is a killer in the schedule of things. So I kind of like that Gahanna is unique, and we do it every 2 weeks, or 2 and then 3 weeks.
Seems
But-
like that might defeat the purpose, though, of like what they're asking for, because it's, I mean, even if we do have the 2 meetings a month and we don't use them, we might use them, and so that would defeat the purpose of their workflow, I think, and what, like, they're originally, like, bringing this to the
So
table for.
ask, getting that in writing, or getting scheduled, that one, is a better process for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have to, like, pick one or the other. Like, I don't think we can just have a meeting on the schedule, and maybe we'll use it, maybe we don't. That's just my opinion, so,
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
yeah. Okay,
So
well.
we need to decide before our January meeting, when we state pretty much our parameters, our meeting times and dates.
So we'll vote on it in January. I mean, everybody can, we're not voting tonight, obviously. So, I mean, everyone can take all this under advisement, and at our organizational meeting, we'll vote.
Is there a meeting in 2 weeks?
Like I said, yeah, don't believe so. Nope, so that'll make 9.
Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I would like to proceed with the rest of our agenda this evening, which brings us to official reports. And I'll start with this Assistant City Attorney. Do you have anything?
I was, prior to this meeting, working on the answer. The pool cabana thing went through BZBA, was denied by BZBA. They did file a 2506 appeal through Common Pleas Court. So I was working on that answer, just to keep you guys in the loop.
Is there a hearing date?
It's on the Common Pleas schedule. I mean, it's all platted out over the next year.
Okay, I
But
don't
nothing,
report either, so.
there's no, yeah, I think it's on a 1-year track.
They
but
just set it
there's-
up when you file
Yeah.
a complaint. Okay, I
Yeah.
get you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Blackford, anything additional?
Nothing additional. Thank you all very much for your time and attention
Thank you.
tonight already. Thank you.
And myself as council liaison, just a couple things. The budget is scheduled for a vote on the 15th. I believe they've had a couple public hearings now on the budget, and the final vote is scheduled in a couple weeks. I was also advised that there's some upcoming legislation surrounding the development agreement for the Creekside project, which is going to be heard at the next committee meeting, which I don't know if that's next week or the week after, but whatever the next committee of the whole is when that upcoming legislation will be presented, discussed. And then the final item is the annexation for the property, which used to be the Growing Solution parcels. That's what I call them, the Growing Solutions parcels, over on Johnstown Road, I believe. That annexation was approved by the county commissioners not recently. So that is all that I have as far as council goes. Mayor's not here. I don't have anything else as the chair. So I'll move on to correspondence and actions. Is there any tonight?
No, ma'am.
All right, finally, we will poll everybody for comment. I'll start with you again, Mr. Shapaka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we move forward here in a couple weeks, and we will have to vote, the one day at 6 o'clock works for me. Thank you.
Mr. Maker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, I don't have anything else. Stay warm. Thank you very much.
Mr. Soriano?
No comments for me?
Ms. Laser?
No comments.
Mr. Greenberg?
No comment.
No comments.
Only comment for me is happy holidays.
Yep.
That's about it. Given that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.